Hello and welcome back to Man v Film. In one of my earlier videos I was talking about my YouTube experience and how I've gotten on and how I find the situation, and a lot of people kind of asked me various questions about maybe starting a YouTube, having one, how to be a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera, those kind of things. And this is a video for people who are considering starting up YouTube. Now, by no means am I an expert. I don't proclaim to be an expert. I just have put out a lot of videos. I've been doing this for a number of years, and I have some points that I figure in my own head as being pertinent to the subject matter. Now, YouTube is both a great and yet terrible thing at the same time. It has this awesome ability to have this great community of wonderful people who will enrich the subject matter you're talking about, and there will also be the other lot of people who are just negative for the sake of being negative. These people just come part and parcel with the entire YouTube experience, and to be honest, it's nothing to really worry about. That's the first thing I can tell you. Make mistakes. Make errors. It's what's going to make you better. It's looking back at your videos and realising that things weren't perfect, and that's okay. Nothing has to be super perfect in this world. When you're having conversations, you don't perfectly articulate yourself. Sometimes you stumble over your words, you have a pause, you take a moment to think about things, and that's fine. You know, if you and ah, it's just the part of language. It's what people do. So don't worry about making these kind of mistakes. They're learning curves, things to grow from and really somewhat overcome. Sometimes you don't. I mean, I still make lots of mistakes these days, and most of the time I just let them go because they are what they are. I think they make the video feel more realistic and less kind of polished, which is one of the other things that really kind of irks me about YouTube is the fakeness of certain things, you know, that overly exuberant and cheerful manner that people have that you just know isn't their real persona. You know, people aren't like that, and if you met somebody like that in real life, you'd probably be aghast. You'd take a step back. You wouldn't want to be near them, in their face, overly happy, shouting, doing all that kind of stuff. It just doesn't feel, to me, natural, because it's not, and it just comes across as a little bit fake and produced and just not honest about the person that they are. Numbers are a thing that's going to get you obsessed to start with. You know, when I started my YouTube channel, I was watching numbers and I was so happy to have another subscriber, and it's great. It is good to have these people on board, but you've got to understand that you'll be carrying a certain number of dead subscriptions throughout it. You know, regardless of what your number is, a majority of people may not watch your videos. You may find only a small percentage actually click through and watch. Again, don't worry about it. The numbers are something that doesn't matter. It's just a sort of byproduct of doing this thing. Seeing them go up can be exhilarating. Seeing them go down, which does often happen, it can be demoralising. It's to break free from that mould and don't concentrate on watching these kind of things. They're pointless almost. It's nice to hit milestones. It really is. But ultimately, they're not the main thing that I find the most rewarding about YouTube. The most rewarding factor that I found in YouTube is the community. Meeting people who are like-minded. You know, there are lots of film-centric channels out there. I wanted to start my own because I love talking about movies and I wanted to meet people, and I've done that. And particularly over the last 6 months or more, seeing the comments that come in and spending a good portion of my day responding and talking to the various people that are making these comments is wonderful. Sometimes it's just a nice simple, like, great video, you're doing great, I love your channel or something like that, which is wonderful. Other times it can be several paragraphs which are really interesting, thought-provoking, open me up to new ideas and new movies, and they're wonderful as well. Just having that kind of interaction and discussion about film with people on my channel is is simply the single most rewarding factor about having YouTube. Like I said, it goes back to those numbers. Don't get caught up in them. They are something that will either happen or they won't, and you don't want to be hanging on feeling a video doesn't succeed because it doesn't get the views. If it gets the interaction, if it gets the right views, if a video only has a handful of views but you feel as if you've reached somebody or made them go and watch a movie because of your point of view or whatever your topic is, then you're doing great. That's a plus point. Wonderful. There's certain times I get a little bit despondent about poor views on a video, and that's because I want people to discover that movie that I loved. Not because the video didn't do great, but because I wanted them to go and watch that movie and be able to interact with me about it. Back to the negatives. One of the worst thing on YouTube is the thumbs up or the thumbs down. Now, this is something that I rarely, if ever, look at. It doesn't matter, you're always going to find these people on your channel who will either instantly dislike every video or at points just go through and dislike a bunch of them. And do you know what? Who cares? Really, it has zero effect on you. They've spent a view watching your video, they've gave it a thumbs down, which is an interaction, which all counts towards the YouTube algorithm, and ultimately they're wasting their time. If anything, there was a point early on where I was considering not continuing with YouTube, and then this one person popped up, disliked all my videos, and every time I put a video up, disliked them, and that actually spurred me on. I was like, wow, somebody really doesn't like me. I'm going to see how much I can annoy them. Let's see who can give up first. And I just continued to put out the videos and ultimately just stopped looking at the thumbs up, thumbs down. Every now and again, you get a video that has a lot and it kind of pops out, it sticks out at you and you're like, that's great. But ultimately, again, don't focus on these small things. Focus on the community and the friends that you make. That is the key point of YouTube in my eyes. As for being comfortable in front of the camera, I think that's something that you just get over time. About 3-4 years ago, I decided to really just throw myself into YouTube and put out a video a day. I wanted to do that for one reason only. I wanted to not fret over what I was putting out. I wanted to create content and get it out. If I made a mistake, I would learn from it and hopefully not make it again. Although usually I kind of did. But you would try these different things, and it was all about getting into a rhythm, getting into a movement of getting these videos done and out, and learning. That famous adage, it takes 10,000 hours of doing something to become an expert. I threw myself into that. I started doing these videos and firing them out, and now I'm up to, well, thanks to furlough, 3 a day at the moment, and I'm loving it. It's great. It doesn't feel like a job. It doesn't feel like something I have to sit down and, oh no, I'm going to have to do this. If it feels like that, you're doing something wrong. It's time to step back and analyse what you're doing. The best thing you can do is just do lots of it. Sit down and talk about it. When I first started doing videos, I would have all these notes written out. I'd go into certain points and I'd try and work myself through it, and you would see me every now and again looking at the camera and then going and talking, and that was me trying to figure out my thoughts. But I've got into the habit now of just sitting down and just hitting record and rambling about a movie and hoping that it still makes some kind of cohesive sense while doing it. And for the most part, it's great. And when you're firing out a lot of content, some videos are going to be more watched than others. And again, I wouldn't worry about that. I suppose if I really wanted to, I could look at all my analytics and figure out the most popular videos and just do lots of them. But that's not what I want to do. That's not going to be fulfilling for me. Fulfilling for me is doing a mix of videos, getting out lots of movie reviews, talking about various different movies. Some are so wildly over different genres that I understand that people aren't going to be interested in them, but they interest me. and there may be that odd 1 or 2 people that might be interested as well. So I want to put out the content that I want to put out. I don't want to do the stuff that's just there to get people to watch and interact and click. Delusions of grandeur. We all go into this thinking, and even if you don't admit it, in the back of your head somewhere you're wondering, could you make something of yourself on this? But pretty quickly, I think you'll realise that it's not going to happen. And that doesn't matter. Again, we go back to the community, the relationships, the conversations, the ability to come on here and have a little bit of escapism is just wonderfully put. It's something that I really enjoy doing, and something that I would encourage taking up YouTube because of that. Like I said, all the other stuff that comes with it can be overpowering. It can lead to peaks and troughs, moments where you're elated, moments where you're despondent. Cut all that out. Do your channel the way you want to do it. Do it regularly. Try to create a rhythm. Try to build up a viewer base of like-minded people. I think YouTube is great. I think it's one of my favourite things in life at the moment. Just as a hobby, it's wonderful. I get to connect with people, talk film, and do all kinds of film-centric stuff, and it's wonderful. And I hope you really enjoy your YouTube experience. If it's something you're going to do or something you're thinking about doing, just do it for the right reasons. Do it for a passion. Don't do it to be one of the fake people who are there to try and make themselves something that they're not. It's fun if you let it to be fun. Don't let it be stressful. I hope you have a lot of fun enjoying your YouTube. I hope I brought up some points that may interest you, and I'll see you next time on Man v Film.